Okay, so now let's get a big deep breath, and we're going to do some things that are kind of like annoyed sighs. And you'll notice that there's different ways that you can do it. But the basic idea is this. Now, that one was actually pinched very much up at the top of my voice. Listen to the different ways that you can do it and try to follow along. Ready? And there's one that if you do it low enough, it almost sounds like you're running out of air like this. It's almost like you're coughing. What you're doing is you're expelling air from the deepest part of your lungs when you do that and opening your throat as far as you can. So let's try that range again. That's using all those muscles supported by the breath that we want. Now I know that some of these may be a little hard to hear on the video, but if you're doing it, with your tape recorder, you may be able to hear what I'm trying to tell you. We're going to do some sounds, but with different vowel shapes using our mouths, because all we're doing when we change the shape of our mouths is that's how we create different vowels. So we're going to do a long E, a long I, and a long O with the So, first we go breathe in deep and do it again. Ready? And you can feel your throat muscles actually changing as well as the mouth shape. And that's what you really want to concentrate on, is really thinking about those. So try those again a few times, and then we'll get to the next lesson. The next thing we're going to try is an ow sound with the, but don't make a tone, so just go. And you'll feel, besides moving your mouth, try to concentrate on your throat and what's happening there. What you're doing is you're actually constricting the shapes and making different vowels. And without the tone, you can kind of feel it a little better. Okay, the next one that we're going to do is actually the most important of the non-tone sounds we're going to do. And that's an ah sound, but without the tone. So just go like this. And again, that ah sound forces you to open up your throat and use your full lungs. And that's the way we want our throat when we add tone, which is what we're going to do right now. This is going to sound really breathy at first, and that's okay. We're going to overcorrect it first. It's almost like when you learn a foreign language, you overpronounce the words at first, and then eventually get into the way that people normally speak. That's what we're going to do here. So we're going to add tone to our, but it's going to be really breathy. And the way we're going to do that to make sure that you're staying breathy is to hold our hands in front of our face so that we can feel that warm air hitting our hands. Ready? And what we're going to do is just add some tone, whatever tone you want. I'll do a pretty low one. Now you should actually feel the warm air hitting your hand. If you don't, then you're doing something too pinched. So let's just try a few more. Ready? Okay, this next part we're going to talk about has to do with the ha sound that we were just doing. If you're doing that sound and adding tone, there's a certain point in your voice as you go up where you can no longer hold that ha. And that's where you've reached what's called your falsetto. It's also called your break when you're singing. And what it is a point where you can no longer hold your natural resonance and your voice skips into another register where it's using a really pinched nasally sound. There's some popular singers that have used it, like the Bee Gees or Frankie Valli. I'll sing a little so you can kind of hear what it sounds like. Walk like a man, talk like a man. You see how it sounds kind of high? And then, you know, the Bee Gees, it's like, you can't tell by the way I use my walk, I'm a woman's man. I don't know why all these falsetto songs have that man thing going in them, but they do, and, you know, that's why we want to avoid it.
What you're looking at now is several ways that you can express pitch, both musically and scientifically. Some of you who've had music lessons as kids or in school might find it easier to understand these concepts if they're presented in musical terms. So what we've done is we've presented you with the scale, notes on a keyboard, and then below that are numbers that represent scientific notation in hertz. I've also marked the approximate, average, and the pitch range for male and female with the blue and pink bars respectively. Now, if this is confusing to you, it's not necessary for you to understand these concepts, so don't worry. I include them here because some readers will better understand what they're trying to do if they see it this way. Everyone learns differently, so don't get hung up on this if it's not making sense. On the scale at the top, you'll see musical notes, which are those black dots, are placed in relation to two five-lined clefs, which tell the music reader which note to sing or play on their instrument. A scale is just a basic vocabulary of music, much like letters are the basic components of spoken language. In fact, they're so similar that music notes are assigned letters from A to G, after which they repeat. The top part shows an ascending musical scale, so the pitch gets higher as we move from left to right, and the notes go up. If you look at the scale, I've marked all the C's in bold to help you see the repeating pattern. The reason I chose C instead of the first letter A is because there's certain things about C that make all this easier to understand, and we'll get to that later.
Whenever you're looking at a keyboard, you can actually find a C on it pretty easily. All you have to do is look. The black keys are in groups of 2 and 3. All you want to do is find a group of 2. If you choose the left one of the 2, the next white key to the left is always a C. So, for instance, this is a C, and this is a C. Now, if you look at the way notes are arranged on the diagram in your booklet, you'll see that they're in ascending order up a scale. And a scale is just playing the notes in order up from an octave or going as far up as you want to. So it would be like this. And that's a scale, it's an octave scale. Now the distance between one C and another C is called an octave because there's 8 notes in between. Like for instance, if you want to hear what an octave sounds like, the first 2 notes from Somewhere Over the Rainbow from The Wizard of Oz is an octave. So that's an octave. Basically, male voices are about an octave lower than female voices. So a male voice would be down here and a female voice would be up here. So all you're going to have to do is raise the pitch of your voice about an octave. Now if you look at the diagram in your booklet, you'll see that I've marked where male range is, which is approximately from about here all the way up through about here. Most males can work a range about that wide. Now, female range tends to go from about here up through here. So there's a little more range, and you can see that there's some overlap right in here. What we're going to try to do is get above that overlap a little bit. Now technically, the exact middle of male range, the average for males, is this note right here. That's about where most male voices resonate at. What we're going to try to do is get closer to the female range, and the exact average is this. You can see in your booklet that's marked as a pink note, and this is the A key that's just below middle C. Now what we're going to do during these exercises is actually use middle C as our reference point, and that's this note. We're going to overcorrect a little bit because it'll help you sort of stay up in this part of the range rather than dipping down into the overlap part.
Now, as far as the scientific notation, pitch is measured scientifically in hertz, or cycles per second. That means if a pitch is 220 hertz, there are that many up and down vibrations each second. Now, it turns out there's a lot of math found in music, too. So if pitch is half of the hertz, it's an octave lower. If it's twice the hertz, it's an octave higher. There's only about 1 octave difference between typical male and female voices. So wherever you are now, you probably just need to raise it about an octave. Now, average female pitch is about 220 hertz, which corresponds almost exactly with the A, that's 2 white keys below middle C. It's also the second lowest sounding string on a guitar or a cello. Now we're going to overcorrect a little bit and use middle C as our target note.
Now that